Have you ever actually lost an important file? Chances are you haven't. You just don't know where it is at the moment, and you'd have to spend time looking for it. Now, that's a problem if you want to be a content creator who runs a successful business. Because at some point, disorganization like that stops being annoying and starts limiting how much content you can actually produce. So, what if I told you there are only three quick fixes you need to organize all the chaos on all your drives one more time and then be good for a long time? It took me years to figure out the best way to organize data and files in a way that they're an asset and don't turn into a time consuming nightmare when I want to create content. At the end of the day, it came down to three fixes I needed to implement. First one is a naming convention that works for video projects, admin files, and everything in between. Second is an easy way to structure folders so I can quickly find what I'm looking for. And third, a reliable backup system that lets me sleep at night because I know my data is actually secure. Now, if you want to be a content creator who runs an efficient business, the three-step file organization system is the foundation that'll help you stay focused on content creation instead of constantly recovering files from chaos, while the business part is almost running effortlessly behind the scenes. And definitely watch to the end because I'm going to show you the fastest way to use these three fixes today without having to spend weeks sorting through the last 5 years of documents. Because the real transformation here is not becoming more organized, it's becoming operationally reliable. Before we dive into fix one, the file naming convention, I want to make sure we actually agree on the problem. Because most creators treat file organization like optional housekeeping, something to do when you have to do it, something that doesn't actually affect the output quality of the work, when in reality it does in three different ways. There's the time cost for one. If you spend just 10 to 15 minutes a day searching for files because they're all over the place, that sums up to 60 to 90 hours per year, or somewhere between 1 to 2 work weeks. That's the compound effect at its worst. Tiny inefficiencies repeated like that every single day sneak up on you and turn creative work into burnout eventually. Personally, I can imagine a better use of my time than spending 2 work weeks searching for documents every year. And we're not even assuming that the time to look for files would actually increase over time because the overall number of files to go through grows with every project. So there's more to look for. Then there's the memory issue. Imagine you want to update a video from 6 months ago or repurpose it into a reel, a newsletter, or part of an online course. Doesn't even matter. And you can't even find the source file anymore. It's kind of hard to do if you don't remember which external hard drive the project folder is on. But the biggest problem by far with chaotic file management is that drives eventually fill up, and then the question becomes, what is safe to delete? So you either delete something important or you buy another drive to continue the same chaos just on a larger surface area, which means the business grows, but the infrastructure underneath stays the same. And there's a saying, conflict delayed is conflict multiplied. The same applies here. If you add more hard drives to an already chaotic system, all you get is chaos multiplied. With the three fixes I'm going to share with you, all these problems are eliminated completely and you stop wasting time. You create a system instead where your content becomes a reusable asset instead of disposable files. Fix one is to embrace a consistent way to name files, no matter if they're part of a video, a client project, or a business admin folder. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, not that again. That's so much extra work. Well, a naming convention does more than just organize files. It makes them searchable, which is precisely how you stop wasting 1 to 2 work weeks every single year. The name of a document already tells you what it is without opening it, which means your future self doesn't have to waste mental energy figuring out the past. And it's really not that complicated to come up with consistent and repeatable file names. There are only three parts to consider: date, description, and designator. Date is kind of self explanatory. I use year, month, day like this. The advantage with this is that it automatically sorts my files by month and day within any folder. And there are no exceptions to this. Every single file and file type I have within a folder has a date component. Description is next. That's the name like video underscore title or business license. I sometimes add an extra component to this, like the code INV for invoice or script for video script that I'm working on. This makes sense for documents of the same type. For instance, if I ever have to look up invoices, I don't want to go through my folder structure. I can simply search for INV and I get a whole list of invoices only. It's optional to work with these abbreviations, but in some cases, it actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so path 3 is the designator then. For example, if I have multiple takes of the same video, then I can go and give them the designation take 01, take 02, and so on. For my Word files, I sometimes use V1, V2, V3 to use as a status designator, simply to indicate there are multiple versions of the same document. The advantage here is that I completely avoid using final as a designator. In my experience, final rarely stays final for very long, so I prefer the option with the versions. Another option is to use case-specific designations like these ones here. So I included the score in the file name of two thumbnail versions instead of V1 and V2 because let's face it, 6 months from now, I won't remember if thumbnail version 1 or 2 was the one I used without checking first. But by adding a case specific designator, I can be reasonably sure that I use the one with the highest score without having to check a content plan or log into YouTube Studio. This sounds like an insignificant improvement at first, but multiplied across hundreds of creative decisions every year, it reduces friction a lot. Now that we have the file name figured out, we need to talk about an easy way to structure folders. That's the second fix if you want to get behind the scenes business organization in order as content creator. Because eventually your business becomes too complex to run from memory alone. Let's look at this zoomed out all the way first and start with the drive itself. Obviously, we can't have a cluttered desktop with individual files sitting on C drive. You can still use C drive, of course, but there are a few folders you need to get organized first. And the same is true for any other drive, external ones or if they're on a NAS. Chances are, if you make money with content creation or you intend to, you'll have a few admin documents like a business license or some sort of business plan. You definitely use a bunch of software and apps. You'll have social media channels where you publish your content, and there is the content itself, of course, videos, blog posts, and so on. So the big picture items are pretty similar, no matter if you're a YouTuber or a travel blogger. And this is why we can start with a few basic folders like admin, software, creative content, and maybe clients. As I said, it's irrelevant if you store your files locally on your computer or on an external hard drive in the cloud or on a NAS. Just think of the folder structure as a shipping container with crates and smaller boxes inside. The drive is the shipping container in this metaphor. The crates are your generic topic folders like business admin, software, videos, clients, and so on. And within these crates, you store smaller boxes, subfolders. For instance, in my topic folder for software, I have a subfolder for each subscription I currently use. And within each subfolder, there is another folder for invoices. In the topic folder videos, every video project has its own folder, and these folders are all structured the same way. So every time I'm looking for something specific, like the raw video files, I have a pretty good idea where to find them, simply because the structure repeats for each project. Now, you might think, hold on, what if something changes over time? Like I need to add something or a subfolder becomes irrelevant. Well, add a folder to the existing structure or delete it going forward. The point is that there's a structure in the first place, which can then be optimized over time, of course. I give you a practical example. I've recently transitioned from Premiere Pro to DaVinci Resolve for video editing. My video project folder template looked like this before. Folder 6 was called Premiere Pro for the first, let's say, 40 videos or so. Now I renamed it to DaVinci Resolve files. The overall drive organization is not impacted by this at all. And even within the project folder, I will still be able to find the master editing file in 6 months from now because it's in the same spot, just with a different label slapped on. But even if you add folder 08, 09, or 10 to that project folder, eventually, there is no issue. The integrity of the project folder is unaffected by that. You're modifying the package inside the crate inside a container. Neither the crate nor the container are affected by that. So even though it looks super structured and maybe a bit rigid at first glance, there is a lot of flexibility there that can be leveraged over time as the business or the projects grow. The goal is predictability for now, though. Like with the file naming convention, I usually stick to 3 rules when it comes to folder names. They start with a number. Operating systems sort alphanumerically by default, which means that 01 always comes before 03. That's a no-brainer. It's the same using dates in file names for chronological sorting. So rule 2 is then to keep folder names relatively short without compromising the information it needs to give me. And rule 3 is that I don't use spaces whatsoever, because spaces in file names can cause problems across different operating systems and cloud apps. Underscores are safe everywhere. So if we combine the file naming convention with the folder structure rules now, this is the result we get for a video project folder that already has files inside. Also, I have this as an empty template to copy for the next project. Now, one thing to note is that while I do have a B-roll folder within each project, I stopped using that for generic B-roll clips a while ago. I started reusing a lot of B-roll from different videos, and looking them up in old project folders was really time consuming. So I built a dedicated asset library for content, mainly split into B-roll footage and still images at this point. But I could also go and add my brand kit here with logos and links that I use often, or a sound library. Now there's one more fix that we have to talk about before I show you the fastest way to use them today without having to spend weeks reorganizing the last 5 years of documents. But let me just say, I know this can feel overwhelming at this point. File names, folder structure, and so on. Here's the thing though, the creators who scale are the ones with systems that are documented and transferable. If your file system only makes sense to you, it cannot be handed off to someone else like a video editor, let's say. A system that cannot be handed off is not a business asset, it's a personal habit. And if your business depends entirely on your memory, it becomes very hard to scale without burning yourself out. Your time investment to build this structure is 2 to 4 hours max. The return is every week you save in the future by not searching for files in the chaos. But more importantly, it lowers the cognitive load again of running your business every single day. The same is true for all the other systems we talk about on this channel. So subscribe if you want to organize your business behind the scenes. All right, let's talk about Fix 3, the 3-to-1 backup system. File organization means nothing without a smart backup protocol in place. Because if we organize a single drive and it fails for some reason, the loss of data is worse than the chaos today. Okay? So the backup is insurance and peace of mind, plain and simple. As professionals, we don't just create content, we also want to protect the assets we create. And the more content we create, the worse any loss of data becomes in theory. The 3-to-1 backup protocol means you have 3 copies of every file stored on 2 different types of media, like a hard drive and a cloud, with one of those copies held off-site. In practical terms, you have a copy 1 on your working drive that you access all the time. So this is your laptop or your desktop. Everything you're actively producing lives here. Copy 2 lives on an external hard drive, where you sync contents to regularly. Not a manual drag and drop situation you have to remember, but an automated sync using a backup software. Weekly sync, pick a day, automated, forget about it. The only time you think about copy 2 is when copy 1 fails. Copy 3 is the backup of the backup in a way. Let's say a cloud service like Google Drive or OneDrive. Here you can sync once a month. This is the one offsite disaster level backup. House on fire, getting robbed, that sort of stuff. Copy 3 is a restoration point for worst case scenarios. You hope you never need copy 3, but if things go bad, this is what prevents a total reset. That's all there is to it. 3 copies on 2 different systems with 1 copy being located off-site. Right? So here's the big question I know a lot of you are asking now. Everything I've described so far makes complete sense for new content creators starting from scratch. But what about the 300 folders of chaos you already have on your 5 different hard drives? Do you spend the next 8 weekends or so reorganizing all of it? No, you don't. And I want to be clear about this because I've attempted the complete reorganization myself and spent entire weekends on it only to abandon the whole affair because the migration was too large to finish and it took too much time. Complete reorganization is not where you want to start because sustainable systems are built forward, not repaired backward, and especially not all at once. But there's a 3-step migration protocol you can use today. Step 1 is to build the big picture architecture now. A clean layer of folders like admin, software, videos, clients, including the subfolders for each one. And this is supposed to exist next to the old chaos for now. You're not touching the old stuff. Step 2 is to migrate your 5 most recent projects into the new structure. Not the stuff from 2 years ago, just the 5 most recent projects that you're working on. Then take those 5 projects, apply the correct folder structure, rename the files with the naming convention. And that's it. And then step 3 is to apply the system to everything you create from this point forward. So every new video you create, you copy the project template and add files where they belong. The idea with this approach is that the old chaos stays where it is and new order starts today. Going forward, the chaos gets smaller since projects use the organized structure. Every week, the proportion of your drive that is organized grows. And 6 months from now, the organized system becomes the default operating environment. In a year from now, the old chaos is almost entirely archive material you barely touch anyway. So, to sum this up, you don't clean a chaotic system by reorganizing everything at once. You install order at a point in time and let it propagate forward. That's how operational transformation actually happens in real businesses. So, if you're tired of running your creator business in reactive mode, download the free 1-page Solopreneur operating system I created in the description below. It'll give you 6 steps to transform your work so your business feels faster and easier to manage behind the scenes. So let's bring it all together now. If you want to be a content creator who runs an efficient business, the 3-step file organization system is the foundation that'll help you focus on the content creation part you love, while your systems quietly support growth in the background. Fix 1, name files the same way with 3 components: date, description, and designator. Fix 2 is organize your folder structure. Your drive is like a shipping container with crates inside that hold smaller boxes. Use numbers for automatic sorting. And fix 3, have a backup protocol in place that follows the 3-to-1 rule. 3 copies on 2 different media types with 1 copy being off-site. To create order fast, use the migration protocol, where you build the folder structure today and start with the first 5 projects. Then apply the system to everything going forward. And remember, the goal is not organization for the sake of being organized. The goal is reducing friction, protecting assets, and creating a business that scales easily in the future. But keep in mind that none of these fixes matter, of course, if you don't regularly maintain your systems. That's what we're going to talk about next. Easy admin and maintenance that doesn't compromise your creative time. So check out this video here where I share how I manage my systems as content creator without wasting too much time on admin work. Thanks for watching and I see you there.